Really pumped to have Paul and Austin just arrived last night. And we're going to be spending the weekend mostly having fun. But before we dive into that and see what Austin has to offer, is that working?
Just about.
Then we thought we'd sit down and we were going to have this conversation anyhow. And so I said, well, let's just get it on Periscope. Let's go ahead and set up some mics and have it as a little interim podcast as well. And maybe we can help a lot of people as he's helping me out here with my practice. As most of you know, I just recently moved into a bigger space, hired my first PT who's across the hall right now, doing a great job. And I'm completely buried in work, and I've recognized from the beginning that it has a lot to do with the fact that I've not taken the time up to this point to really document and systematize everything that I can, automate what I can. Paul has done a lot of that, and he's really an expert in that area, and that's why I'm going to be picking his brain, and you guys can listen in. So while we're doing this, if you have questions, you can throw them up. Can't say that we'll see them for sure because we're looking at multiple screens, but maybe we'll have a little time at the end. If anyone does have any questions, we can do those then. So first and foremost, Paul, give them for anyone who now or later watching this doesn't know who you are, your background, what kind of practice you have. Just give us a little intro on that.
Yeah, so my name is Paul Gough. I'm from the UK. I'm a physical therapist from the northeast of England. So my background originally in professional soccer. I was a physical therapist for 2 soccer teams in the UK for 5 years and established my own practice probably towards the end of my time as a physical therapist, and knew that it was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to be more entrepreneurial. I wanted to have the time to travel and spend time abroad, take my family places and do more things, and ultimately not be restricted by obviously the seasons of being a physical therapist basically. So set about creating the Paul Gough Physio Rooms in 2007, and was pretty much a solo practitioner for the first 5 years of it, doing very well. Business was good and seeing a lot of patients, but wanted to make the transition from being a solo practitioner towards a business owner, and realized that I had to figure out marketing and sales and systems to be able to do that better. And I've pretty much been on a crusade now for the last 2 or 3 years to systematize and autopilot a business that is now 14 staff strong, 14 amazing staff strong, and 4 locations strong. So 4 locations across the northeast of England, and I've only been able to do that with the help of a lot of technology, software, automation, really digging in and doing things in a business that I think a lot of people just don't want to do, and that's take the time to create systems and processes. And for any business that wants to grow or is growing or has aspirations to grow, you can't do it without it. And hopefully today that's what we'll dig in and talk about a little bit of the things that you can do in your practice to help automate the growth and make it a lot easier, so that it ultimately, my goal was a business that runs without me, and that's my definition of a business is my name above the door, my name on the website, my name on the business cards, the coffee cups, you name it, it's there. It's my personality, but I don't have to do anything in the day-to-day running of it.
So in this past year, say, or 2015, or just in the past 12 months, how many weeks were you not physically at your practice locations of the year?
22.
22.
So I spent 22 weeks of last year, of 2015 on. It's not vacation. I'm not a guy who just wants to sit on a beach. And it isn't building a business so that I can do nothing. It's building a business so that I have freedom of choice of where I want to go, what I want to do, how I want to spend my time. A lot of it, my lifestyle is now mixed between travel, which I love, and learning, which I love just as much. So I've been here now for 7.5 weeks, traveling around and in between meetings with clients, and enjoying time in places like La Jolla, now Austin. I've been over to Myrtle Beach, I've been to LA, I've been to Anaheim, been to Phoenix, been all over the place, and mixed a lot of business with pleasure and sightseeing and traveling, but also education. I'm a relentless learner. Masterminds are big. I'm at seminars and events and programs learning and more about business. And I like to mix that with pleasure. I don't really want to sit on a beach for a month. It sounds nice, and a lot of people think
Get
that's
bored.
the dream. It's boring.
Yeah.
Who the hell wants to do that?
I tried it a few weeks ago, or a few months ago, and within 2 days I was like, this is what I've been dreaming of. And as soon as I get out of the water, I caught my waves for the day. My arms can't move anymore, and I'm like twiddling my thumbs. I'm like, God, I'm just thinking about business and wanting to do something.
Yeah, and that's the key. It doesn't look like, it's not for us to say what people do with their time. For us, it's to show you how you can find that time and then do with it what you want. So, but for my reason for a business that grows without me is that so I can learn and I can travel and I can enjoy the great lifestyle and I can spend 50 weeks of the year with my shorts on instead of a hat and a scarf and gloves in a freezing cold country that I live. And it's the truth. Seriously, I look deep and I've studied as to why I think that I've kind of been as committed as I have been to building a business, and it's because it just irritates me that I have to spend, or was going to be spending most of my life in a climate where it just really isn't it can't accommodate my life, where I want to be outdoors, I want to be fresh air, I want to be taking a kayak along a river like hopefully we might do this weekend. Those are the types of things that I want to do in my life. So I faced a point, I talk about being King Rat. And I don't know if I don't
know if I've heard this.
King Rat, yeah. Okay. So to me, the dawn of the realization was when I realized that I'm going to probably be potentially quite well off and wealthy, and I'm going to be able to have a nice income as a physical therapist, but I'm probably still not going to be able to do a lot of the things that I want to do.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by that. So my thing on King Rat is, what happens if you win the rat race? You're still a King Rat. Mm-hmm. Who the hell wants to be King Rat? So I looked at that. And realised that I would rather be free and able to travel and go certain places and do certain things at will, still put time and energy into building the businesses that I love, but be able to make the decision to do that. So that was everything that I believed in business, and how I wanted to use my business as a vehicle to create a life that allows me to take advantage of all the opportunities that are there for all of us.
So let's dive into that a little bit today, in terms of maybe we could break down. I know there's a ton of crossover, obviously, between systems and automation, but obviously some things are not necessarily what we would call automated. Some things are simply outsourced to certain staff. But what are the kinds of systems that you have put in place that have allowed you to be away from your clinics, your 4 different clinics, for 22 weeks last year and still have a really great year business-wise?
Okay, so can you guys see us? Just Stephen, Jeremiah, and other people on Facebook, just give us a sign in the chat. Can you see both of us on this screen?
Don't worry, you don't need to see me. He's going to do
most as long as you can hear us and see us. Automation is this key word and buzzword now in every industry, not just in physical therapy, and it comes with understanding what that is. And it's, to me, automation and systems are one and the same. Can we get whatever we want to have happen in a business to happen every time? Not just now and again, not just some of the time, but every time. Now, it's pretty almost impossible to do that, but the goal is to be able to move as close to that as is possible. And in business, you're never going to move away from a sporadic. You're always going to need human input, okay? Like this concept of systems, things like Infusionsoft are great and they help you, but they need human element at the beginning of it. So I would say the big thing that I looked at is, how can I get everybody on board with what I want to do in this business, to move it forward or to drive it forward, so that whatever systems I've created in the business, the human element to it will work. And it came down to,
So can I ask real quick, do you mean that you figured out the systems that you wanted to create first and then found the people to help carry that out? Or you were finding people to fill certain roles and then figured out the systems that you wanted to put in place, or that you needed to put in place?
You'd always go with systems. So you figure the systems first, and then you can employ the people to run the systems.
Okay.
So people don't run businesses, systems run businesses. That's two totally different things, okay? So my goal as the business owner is to lead the business and to set the goal, the mission, and the core values of the business, and create the systems, or certainly create the process and the map for the systems. Then my next goal is to employ people to drive those systems, to take my business to the goal of my business in the fastest possible time frame, and or the time frame that I want it to be achieved. That's commerce. That's all business is. So anybody who's looking at employing staff, who does employ staff, who's watching this, one of the things that I talk about regularly is, why do you pay your staff anyway? you pay your staff every 4 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever it will be to drive that business as fast as possible towards the goals that you as the business owner set. Nothing more to it. And systems help you get there faster. So the big turning point for me, I would say in business, we got to a point of about 500,000 in turnover. Nice, profitable, but doing okay, but we just couldn't get to that next level. And the big thing that I realized is I didn't have a real mission of what we were trying to achieve in the business. And a mission and a core value and a unique selling proposition is something that I don't see an awful lot of in the physical therapy industry, in many businesses. And I couldn't get us past that level. We were suffering with staff that potentially weren't on board with what we were trying to do, and I just didn't really know myself where I was driving the business to. So one of the things that I introduced was the mission statement and the core values in the business, and a real understanding of what we actually do at the Gough Physio Rooms. So we don't do physical therapy, we don't do physiotherapy. We help people keep active, mobile, and free from painkillers.
Okay,
that's what we do. So
would you say that's also, would you define that aside from being like a mission statement or core value? Also, would that be a unique selling proposition?
That is my unique selling. So these are different. Okay. So I'll talk through the difference. Okay. So my unique selling proposition, I call it the unique serving proposition. That's where I come from with it. That's what we do. So to put that into context, you'll see a lot of physical therapy clinics say something like, we give great service, outstanding results, the care you want, the results you need. It's crap. Like that is, and I mean it, I'm not even going to hold back on it. That is dreadful, because as a consumer, that's not what I lie awake at night thinking about. That's what I expect when I arrive at your clinic in exchange for $150. What makes you different is when you can tap into what do I lie awake at night as a consumer thinking about. So my consumer, Mary, my ideal client, she is 53 and she worries about pills, she worries about losing activity, and she does not want to go and see the doctor because she feels as though it's a hindrance and she'll do anything to avoid him. So my unique serving proposition and why very few people can compete with me back in the UK is because they're all selling physical therapy and I'm selling solutions to help people keep active, mobile, and free from painkillers. So I knew that as a business owner, but I would wager, and I challenge everybody on this who's watching it from anywhere, whether it be Facebook or from where else are we? We're on Twitter, Periscope, and you know wherever else we're going to be later on. Okay, I would challenge you to go to your office today and ask anybody in that office to say what you do. I promise you, every single person will give you two different variations of what a physical therapist does and what your business does. That there and then is the problem of why most businesses are a mess. It's like a pilot getting on a plane and both pilots not knowing where they're going, or both knowing that they're going to Vegas but not sure the route that they're going to be taking. So for me, I had to figure that out, and that was the foundation for everything in the business. But more importantly, I had to have my staff to automatically, this is a human automation. If you walked into my business, you had to be able to answer that question to the consumer, and we had to be able to intertwine that in everything that we do, from sales to marketing to customer service to the treatment plans that we produce to the staff training that we do weekly. It's all geared around how is this going to help Mary to keep active, mobile, and free from painkillers.
Okay, so that's when you're talking about systematizing, automating your practice, the first step of all of that is getting really clear on your USP and your core values, your mission statement, and making sure that everyone in the business is clear on that.
It's clear. And this is where I'll go with it. So we did a coaching call yesterday with probably 50 clients of mine. And one of the questions that got asked is, how do I get my staff on board with the new social media? And I'd introduced this client to a concept of putting out, pictures and fun and just having, a bit of a laugh and a giggle, if you like, on social media, as well as giving great content that would help people to kind of make decisions. And he said that he got pushback from his staff. They don't want to do it. So I asked him why he's doing the social media, and why do his staff think he's doing the social media? And he turned around and said, we're doing it to stay in front of the clients. Okay, that's what everybody's doing social media for. So I turned around and said, that's pretty selfish. That's your goal. Okay. My mission as a business is to brighten Mary's day. That's what we do. We brighten Mary's day. First of all, we help her make better decisions about her health. That's what the Gough Physio Rooms does. And we can prove that over a long period of time because of the information that we give people. So we help people make decisions about their health, and ultimately we help to brighten their day. We want to be the thing that the standout, most talked about interaction they have that day. That's my business's mission. So when I know that, and when I go to my staff and say, hey, what we want you to do now is have some fun on social media, and we want, some funny videos, and it, might depict you in certain pictures, whatever, just make people laugh.
Yeah.
Because what we're doing is brightening Mary's day. So when I employ people, that's what I tell them at the beginning. We will use every possible way to brighten Mary's day, whether she interacts with us on social media, through emails, through text messages, through phone calls, through treatment room, through whatever. That's my business's mission. Mm-hmm. And if you don't buy into that mission at the beginning, don't come. Don't come here. So that guy now has to reverse, and he's already done it. He reversed the way that he sees it. So he doesn't come from a selfish, I'm doing this to stay in front of a consumer.
Right.
I'm doing this because I want to brighten Mary's day. And if I keep brightening Mary's day, she will want to do business with me. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the mission at the beginning is vital. And that's the reason a lot of people experience pushback when it comes to learning systems, learning new scripts, new ways of evaluating, new ways of doing whatever you're asking to do. As business grows, if you're getting pushback from your staff, it means because at the beginning nobody's clear, it hasn't been automated the reason that you're actually doing all of these things. Make sense?
Absolutely. So with that as your foundation, maybe we'll spend another 10 if possible before we go, find some fun aspects of Austin to enjoy. What are, say, your top 2 systems that you feel are, and I'm sure there are many, but maybe just pick 2 that you could kind of describe in terms of what you've set up in your businesses that help to run it such that you can be gone for so much of the year and have the freedom of choice that you do.
The one I've just described there is pivotal. I could not be away from the business if they didn't know what we were about and what we're trying to do. The most important one for me is the onboarding process.
Onboarding.
So what happens? Everything from
of staff or
of
new
patients, of new patients. So
okay.
If that onboarding process isn't systematized, everything can go wrong.
What do you guys do in that
so
process?
Again, the system is as part of the system, it's a script of what questions need to be asked by every single member of staff. So we want to know. We have a process from the minute they arrive on our website. They can potentially fill out a form. We can ask them certain questions that will engage them. We will continue that conversation when they call. We'll continue that conversation in the reception area or the waiting room when they arrive. And we'll continue that conversation into the treatment room with a physical therapist. And then we will start a 30-day onboarding process that makes sure that that person understands who we are and what we do. So that first period of time, that first 20 or certainly the first 2 or 3 days where they arrive at the practice, we have that indoctrination process so that I genuinely believe that every consumer who books an appointment with a physical therapist today isn't 100% certain of why they've done it. They've kind of felt the need to, somebody told them to, a doctor told them to, pain got too bad, whatever it will be. But that isn't really where I want my customer to be. I want my customer to be ecstatic about coming to see me. Not just, I'm going to go through this because I'm in pain. It's, I want to go and do this. So much so that the concept of a patient who arrives in physical therapy, they normally start to feel nice and comfortable with you around about session 3.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
So I looked at how can I take, so what I mean by that is if you look at your consumer who books an appointment with you today, the first 1 or 2 sessions, both people, it's kind of like a first date. You kind of, get it to know each other. Around about date number 3, you're a little bit more comfortable and you realize that you're not going to do anything bad and they do trust you and, you're comfortable with them and, they seem to be doing what they say. But in those first couple of sessions, they don't really feel that. Even if they're telling it to you, they don't. It's just, 1 in 10 will, but the 9 out of 10 don't. So my goal in business was, how do I take how you feel at session 3, where you're comfortable, you're happy, there's nice chemicals going through your body and you feel great. How do I take that and put it into the beginning of the relationship before you've even arrived for your first session? So
what do you do? How do you do that?
Questions to make them see the value in what we do, engaging with them on the phone, also via the website, online. We will ask them certain questions to remind them of what they want to achieve. I'd wager that most people, if you ask them what do you want to achieve from physical therapy, they'll just tell you, I want to end back pain, when really deep down, it's a lot deeper than that. It will be that they want to play with grandkids, they want to sleep at night, they want to go for a walk this weekend, they want to do whatever, they don't want to lose their independence, their mobility. Those are much more emotional. And when you tap into that emotional element, they can justify giving you $150 for 10 sessions, 10 times. But if you don't ask them that, they're taking part in just a crappy process of treatment in exchange for dollars, rather than dollars in exchange for transformations. Make sense?
Yeah.
So the systematization has to happen at the beginning with the right scripts, the right framework, training of staff. So how I did it with videos. We've got scripts. I've got a dashboard that at any point my staff can go to and find somewhere in what I call the customer life cycle. At every interaction, I have a video and a script and what I want to have happen and how I want that patient to feel at the end. So the questions are sequential and they are designed, and if at any point you miss a question out, there's a chance that they won't feel the way that I want them to feel by the end of that interaction. So then we kickstart the process of the booked an appointment. We send them emails with great videos, interacting, engaging with them, answering questions, showing one or two of the staff, a video of the premises, explaining who we are, what we're about, what our mission is, what we're trying to do.
Before they
haven't even had a visit.
Cool.
So I know that if my secretary has a bad day, which she does occasionally, just crap goes wrong in people's lives. If they arrive and they're off, they're tired, they're whatever, it happens. I know that I've got this automation going on behind me, so when the appointment gets booked, I can jump in with pre-written emails, pre-written videos, stuff that I want them to consume before that they arrive, to change their state. And that's, it's chemistry and it's science, but I want them to change and be in a different state when they arrive at my practice, so that they're open to my therapist then saying, hey, those 8 sessions that you need, like, that's what I'm going to have to prescribe today. So rather than the patient then saying, oh, I'll have a think about it, which has nothing to do with money, has nothing to do with anything other than I don't trust you yet. That's it. Like, accept that fast, and businesses will be in a much better, more profitable state, rather than just accepting she didn't want to pay the copay, or she didn't want to pay out a network, or she didn't want to pay a deductible in January. It's crap. Like, they just don't trust you enough. So those systems are in place, and I take a lot of comfort knowing that as I speak to you now, probably somebody's just booked an appointment while we've been speaking, will be now consuming that material, so that before they arrive for the next appointment on Monday, they are confident in who we are, like the decision that they've made is right, they trust us, they've seen videos of the staff, they've seen videos of the premises, they've had questions answered that they haven't even asked, which is part of my clinic's core values. Again, so important, answering unstated needs of patients. We're doing all this stuff because we're able to step inside of their mind and pretty much use things like Infusionsoft and email marketing and videos, YouTube, to make sure that the customer arrives at my door feeling the way I want them to feel, probably 2 weeks earlier than any other practice in the world. They're feeling ready to buy from me and comfortable with me and happy and trust me 2 weeks earlier than 99.9% of physical therapy practice anywhere else in the world, which is how we are killing it.
Yeah. So this is a little more logistical, but this is something that I'm about to be implementing in terms of the onboarding, and I've already had some ideas about what I'd want that patient to receive before their first visit. But let's say they call in and they're coming in like 2 days, 3 days. I mean, obviously you don't want to blast them with 3 emails a day. How do you kind of space it out? What do you include in different videos or emails in that onboarding process?
Yeah, I get that. I get asked that all the time. What do we do if they've booked an appointment? They still go through the sequence. They have to, because
so they might get some of them after they've had their first visit.
It's a 3 day. So mine is a 3 day sequence, and it's a 30-day sequence. But I'll talk to you about the first 3 days. The most profitable actually happens at day 10. I won't go into that because that's something that I'm going to definitely include in the course. But there's an email that we send at day 10 that is probably the most profitable email I ever sent, because it snags people who potentially would drop off or are thinking about dropping off if we didn't do what we did at day 10, in that indoctrination sequence. But in the first 3 days, we will welcome them to the practice, and it's not just a here's your appointment and here's your time. It's what I call a summary bridge pull email. My friends at Infusionsoft.
Summary bridge
pull.
Okay.
So we summarize the call. So let's say we've onboarded them. It's really good. I can actually see some of my staff jumping onto this call right now. Hello, Sarah. So Sarah is one of my secretaries. She's just joined this Facebook Live. So one of the things that Sarah will do is probably spend 15 to 20 minutes with a brand new patient, following the script, going through the process, making them feel the way we want them to feel at the end. She'll then review that call, in an email, which is the summary. So we've created a bridge to the next session.
Okay.
And what we're doing is pulling them towards us, because we're confirming to them that we understood, we listened, we asked the right questions, and we put it on black and white in an email to them that didn't just say, thanks for booking an appointment, here's your time and here's your date. The email is like, hey, you've made a great decision. You told us you want to achieve this. You told us your main concern is this. You told us this. You told us this. You told us the other. Okay, all automated via an Infusionsoft web form that takes 30 seconds to do. It appears to be incredibly customized, and it is, because of the way that we create it, which I'll be teaching. And it probably saved my staff 10 minutes for every onboarding process. It saved 10 minutes in not having to write that email manually. So if we're doing 6 new patients a day, sometimes 10, work out how much time is being saved in the business that we can then allocate, not to less staff, to more care for the patient when they arrive. So the first email will confirm the summary bridge pull. Email number 2 will be a video of my staff, and it's actually a video that says, do I need to take my clothes off? I've got your attention.
Oh, you mean the title of it?
The title of the video is, do I need to take my clothes off? So what the video is, and it's on YouTube if you want to find it, the story is true, and again, we put a lot of personality into it. My practice manager, Vicky Smith, I don't know if she's on this call yet, but she might be. So Vicky came to me as a patient 5, 6, 7 years ago, and I didn't know her from anybody other than just a patient. And one of the questions she asked me when she walked in was, do I need to take my clothes off? And I said, no, like, it's just your neck, we'll be fine. Just undo a button and we'll be good. But she didn't hear me properly, and I walked out the room, and I came back in, and she'd started to take her clothes off. And I was like, no, like, you don't need to do it. Leave them on. So when I literally within 2 weeks give her a job. She's amazing, like the sent from heaven in my life, just the best, thing that's ever happened to me in business, because it kickstarted so many good things. And people who are on this call, of staff now are watching this, probably wouldn't have jobs if it wasn't for that, interaction with Vicky back then. So Vicky then started to tell people in the business about this scenario. She used to say, when I first came to see Paul, so we were trying to make them feel comfortable and nice. And she used to say, when I first came to see Paul, this is what happened. And patients loved it. They just laughed and they giggled, and they were like, oh, that's so funny, and blah, blah, blah. So we thought, right, let's put it on video. Let's put this thing on YouTube. Again, a lot of staff, a lot of PTs on here will go, well, I'll get pushback off my staff. Vicky's on board with it because of why? What's the mission? To brighten Mary's day.
To make it fun.
To make it fun. So we took that, and I put 2 other members of staff on the video with Vicky, and we just answered some other common FAQs of coming to see us, of which one of them is, do I need to take my clothes off? So they get this video within 24 hours of booking an appointment at my practice, and we get every single day people replying to that email, laughing, giggling, LOL,
nice.
Ha ha ha. And the comments will usually go something along the lines of, I'm so pleased you sent me that, I've definitely made the right decision. Which, by the way, go figure that one. There's not an ounce of logic in that decision.
Right.
It's emotional. I put them into an emotional state.
Nothing to do with results.
Nothing to do with results. Nothing to do with pain management. Nothing to do with VAS scores. Nothing to do with range of goniometers. That's at the end. Like all of that stuff comes out at the end. Right now, it's emotion, and we have to tap into that emotional aspect of consumers. So we looked at any potential way to make consumers feel better about doing business with us, and how could we optimize it so that state was changed before they wanted to give us. Email number 2 would be all about who we are, the reason for building the business in response to a crappy national health service. I saw that a lot of people in their 50s were frustrated. So again, it doesn't matter what your reason for building the business is. You just got to get that across to them to make sure that they know that they're in the right place. Email number 3 is then asking for referrals. So within 72 hours of them being
potentially before they've even
they haven't even been into the business. We were asking them for referrals. So the whole automation process starts again. But again, it's the way you do it. We don't ask for referrals the way that everybody else does. There's the way that we ask for referrals, which makes it 10 times more likely that it'll actually happen. So as I sit and talk to you now, somebody will have booked an appointment in my practice and is going through this process, feeling the way that I want them to feel, thinking the way that I want them to feel, taking action in the way that I want them to take action. Every single time, because of things like Infusionsoft and other software will let you do it. So that's the number one thing. If you don't get that right, the rest becomes a jumbled mess. And ultimately, for me, it's kind of like putting the wrong gas in the car. It might fire and it might start and splitter and splutter, and it'll be okay. And you might get to 2 or 3 sessions, and you might get a patient who kind of goes along and pays the bill and walks out, and you never see them again. But I don't want that. For a business, if I'm going to do business with you, why not do it for life? And it all happens as a result of that initial 30-day onboarding process into the business, which happens every time. Human element at the front with Sarah, Vicky, Becky, whoever, inputting that data into a system that we created to ultimately change the state of a patient who does business with me. And to answer the question of do we do it even if they book an appointment on the day, 100% yes. It doesn't make any difference, because we retrospectively, it's actually better, because then they can check it off. This is consistent. This feels great. Like, so even if they go home after day one and they've had that appointment with you, then there's a video for them there that night. That makes them even more confident in the decision that they've made. So don't not do it just because they book an appointment on the day. This is about a long-term 25-year relationship with the consumer. That's how far into the my staff on here will know my saying in business. I'm in this for the long haul. This is a 25-year game for me. Nothing can hurt me today. You will never get me worrying about profits, staff quitting, people whinging, whatever. You never get me to make decisions based upon what's happening in the business today, because it's a 25-year project. And that's how I do everything that I do in the business. How can I set this up once for the greater good of a long-term, lifelong relationship with these patients?
Awesome. Why don't we end it there? We'll see if any questions might come up. If not, we'll just head out. But I think that's a great point to be, where we've looked at the USP, core values, and then the onboarding systems. Now, Paul has been nice enough to offer my audience, those who follow me, whether it's on Twitter or Periscope or whatever, an exclusive week to be able to make sure basically every time I promote his courses or that he gives a course, it sells out. And I've had some of my audience members not be able to get into those courses. So he's been nice enough to offer this week coming up, the first week of April, where the
6th of April. 6th of April.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where you're going to be able to sign up and take a course with me. Then I'm going to take him, called Business Automation
Mastery. So PT, Business Automation Mastery.
And it's going to be basically covering everything you just talked about, and then along with that, even the entire patient life cycle, metrics to follow, tons of stuff.
So the goal of the program is 6 weeks to systematize and autopilot everything so that your business grows without you. Right. So we look at, I just spoke to you there about one aspect of I call it the new patient journey experience. Okay, what happens at every point? So what do they see on your website? What happens when they call your practice? What happens when they arrive at you? I have processes and videos teaching my staff how to talk to people when they arrive. Nothing gets left to chance. So I'll be sharing everything, all of my videos, all of my scripts. I have a process that checks text messages 10 times a week, because we want to make sure that there's smileys and there's kisses and there's fun and there's giggles and there's laughs, and it's not just your appointment is at 2 o'clock like every other crappy businesses in the world is doing, and all this thing's automated, and it's like it'll show you how to get the desired outcome that you set for your. Mine is to brighten their day. That might not be yours, but whatever it is, the way that we'll achieve it is exactly the same. So we'll go through the entire new patient journey experience, prescription of care strategies, what happens when they get discharged. We want them to go through the same 30-day experience at the end, showing you how to get reviews online effortlessly, how to upsell at the end, how to move patients into different care plans, all as a result of systems that you can set up at the beginning. Metric.